I gave it my all. In the fight, they came out and exposed themselves, but he did a great job. I had some problems dealing with his length. I really wasn't expecting his jab, or because I can't say his boxing was so great, because he really didn't land a right hand. Just his. I was on the hospital bed that night, and I emailed Matt Hume and Victor Chu asking for a rematch. That night, I emailed them from the hotel, emailed them from the hospital, and I've emailed them every week since the fight, asking for that rematch. Not because of anything like. Feel that anything unjust. I felt that it was a great fight. I felt Roger did a good job. He won, and I don't take that away. But I wasn't 100%, and when I am 100%, I think it would be a much more exciting fight for the fans, and we'll see what the outcome would be then.
Okay, I mean, that's a fair point. Let's talk about the ONE FC heavyweight division. It's not a deep division right now. It kind of reminds me of UFC in the early mid 2000 era. Does that worry you at all? Who do you think's next for you? Where is your future now with ONE FC with regards to the heavyweight division?
Well, my first fight I fought for them was heavyweight, but I signed a contract at 93 kilo. But they asked me to fight heavyweight, so I stepped up and fought Chris Loktev at heavyweight, and I knocked him out. Then they asked me to fight light heavy, and I fought the Brazilian guy, Cristiano Kaminchi, and then I knocked him out. So then now I can bounce back and forth from both divisions, and I'm more than confident that I can take the belt in both divisions. I've been saying this from the beginning. I believe the light heavyweight division is between me and Roger Gracie, who's going to win that belt, and whoever gets there first, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to hold it. If Roger gets there before me, I'll take it off of him, or if I get it first, no one's going to get it from me. And regarding the heavyweight division, there's some guys out there trying to say that, McSweeney's hiding in 93 kilo. I signed at 93 kilo. Same because I'm an athlete and went up to fight heavyweight, because I don't refuse fights. They get things confused. Why don't you drop down from heavyweight to fight me at 93, if it's that easy? I said this to the guys before. I will make 93 kilo, and I will fight them at heavyweight, as big as they want, and I will still knock them out at 93 kilo. I won't be heavyweight. I'll make 93.
Who are you directing that to?
Well, there's a few guys out there that have made this comment in the heavyweight division in ONE FC, and to be honest with you, now because there's people out there like Conor McGregor from UFC that talk so much, but he backs it up. There's people out there that talk so much, they think they can talk their way to stardom or talk their way to being a champion. At the end of the day, just do the right thing. Our jobs are fighters, not to build fights. Leave that promoters. You haven't got to talk smack to every interviewer you see, or every person in media or on social media. In my era, that never happened. Social media wasn't even around when I started fighting. It never existed. You just got asked to fight. You're a man. Yes, I take the fight. This is what I do. This is what you do for a living. And I hear some of these guys whispers in the thing, but then when I see them, nothing gets said. It's so crazy. I don't understand it, but at the end of the day, I concentrate on what I've got to do. I concentrate on my fight. I know the avenues it takes. I contact the matchmaker. I ask them who I want to fight. I've never had a fight once I've ever asked for. So it really doesn't matter. So I don't ask them anymore. They just call me and say, James, will you fight? I don't say, I'll call you back tomorrow. I just say, yes, I'll take the fight, no problem. Do you want to check up? No, I'll take the fight.
So Chi Lewis Parry has just come off a recent win at Glory. He's recently knocked his KO. He's really recently KO'd his recent opponent in 20 seconds. He's a big advocate of a fight between you and him. He's very vocal on Twitter. I know you're not a very vocal person on Twitter. Mm-hmm. How does that fight sound to you? Is that something interesting for you?
I could show you an email right now that 6 months ago I asked for that fight. I asked for him, I asked for Brandon Vera, I asked for everybody in the heavyweight division that were coming through and making noise. But I do it behind closed doors. I do it to the right avenues. Doing it on Twitter, Matt Hume doesn't even have Twitter.
That's true. That's true.
Why would you even talk on Twitter? Because you want the fans to believe that you would take that fight. If you take that fight, contact the promoter, ask him for the fight. He's the man who makes the decisions, not me, not Twitter. It's the wrong avenues you're going down. I don't understand this. But the thing is, what people happen is just like this. It's just this childish young. Chi's an athlete. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's an athlete. And before, I never had any issues with Chi Parry, not at all. He's the one who's been running his mouth, and I hear everything he gets said. People come back to me and tell me. I don't reply, because when I get the contract that has his name on it, then we can talk. Up until then, it's irrelevant. What's the point? I don't get it. He's just desperate to get a fight, because, to be honest with you, not many people are that excited by what he does. Even in the K1 fight for Glory, who was his opponent? You can't honestly look at that opponent and think that was a serious test for him. I fought some of the best guys. Michael McDonald, the best K1 champion of America for 10 years. Fought Sem Shield, knocked out Krokop. I smashed him. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean nothing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah.
It's not about Twitter. This is about the fight for a living. This is what we have passionate for. If one day there's a piece of paper with my name and Chi Parry on it, we will fight. And all the words in the world will not change the outcome. We're going to fight. When that cage door closes or we enter that ring, both of us will fight. And I believe Chi's game to fight anybody. That's cool. He just lets himself down by talking so maturely. And that's the problem. When he looks back on his career, when he's a bit more mature, he'll be like, I can't believe I spoke like that. Like, I'm just embarrassing myself.
Tell me, are you saying that Chi is not on your level?
To be honest, I don't think anyone in that division is on my level. They're all good fighters.
What about Brandon Vera in heavyweight?
He's a great fighter too, but my job as a fighter is to believe that no one can beat me. That's my job. Yeah. And when I fight, that's my job to prove it. Otherwise, I'm in the wrong industry. Do you make sense? That's your dream. That's your passion. You have to believe that nobody can beat you. And I believe that. That's why I'm a fighter. That's why I don't pick and choose my fights. I've had over 200 fights, not because I refuse them. So I don't really, I don't believe any of these guys are on my level. But when the fight happens, it's my job to prove it. And if I can't prove it, the better man on the night won. And that's the be and end all of it. If you don't want to lose fights, don't fight.
Talk to me about the UFC. You in a couple of interviews you've said that losing in the UFC was probably the best thing for you because you learned a lot. Is the UFC a goal that you're trying to attain in the future? Do you look forward to going back there at some point?
It's really funny. When I first started fighting, I never really. UFC was just breaking the door back then, but I was fighting K1 at the time. I never had a dream to fight K1. I was Thai boxed originally, and then money led me to K1. And then when K1 was struggling with money, then MMA led me to money. Makes sense? So for me, I've always dreamed of fighting the best fighters in the world. And I don't always believe the best fighters in the world are in certain organizations. There's some amazing fighters out in Asia. There's some amazing fighters in Holland. There's some amazing fighters. Everyone says Glory is the best K1. You've got Gokhan Saki, the champion, right here at GFC. Does that mean Glory's still the best or less? We don't know. Or the best fighters in the world can be in any organization. I've always believed that when I went to the UFC, of course, I believe it's on one of the highest platforms in MMA, if not the highest on opinion. I was very unprepared for that environment. I was young, I was cocky. I went there, I had done like 6 weeks of groundwork. And I was in the Ultimate Fighter show, the smallest guy, 220 pounds, going against these heavyweights that I should never have been a heavyweight. And I just pretty much threw my luck in the air and see what dice I got. And, it led to some success. But I was trying to learn the industry at the highest level. And it was just too tough, and it paid this price, and I lost. So since that loss, I had to reinvent myself, really decide if this is MMA is what was for me. And it decided it was, and I spent the next 6 to 7 years beating on my craft, trying to get better. I put myself in the worst case scenario in jiu-jitsu, the worst case scenario in wrestling. I went to the Olympic Training Center in Denver and wrestled with killers every day. I went to Robert Drysdale's and threw myself on the mat with the highest level of jiu-jitsu I could. I had Robert Drysdale, Frank Mir, Forrest Griffin every day, 3 days, 4 days a week, rolling with just killers, getting killed 6 months straight. And eventually your level starts getting better. I hate to lose, so you start to get better. I put myself in these worst case scenarios to get better, and now I believe my level is improved and my ground is good, if not as good as my stand-up. And I train complete. So on hindsight, looking back with a mature mind, it was the best thing that ever happened to my career. Because if I would have still kept having success, I probably was that arrogant, I wouldn't have gave the ground and wrestling the attention.
Talk to me about Conor McGregor. You spoke about him earlier. Are you a fan of his style? Are you a fan of what he does? A lot of people say he's talked himself into this fight. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think he's talked himself into a fight. I think he fought himself into a fight. He's a hugely talented individual. He works extremely hard. And actually, one of my coaches back in Las Vegas trained with him for a while. And I reached out to him and said, how is he really behind all of the facade and how he said, James, he's the real deal. There's no joke. He's real. And I was like, well, if he says that, I take his word, And looking at his fights, things that things that he says he's going to do, and when he does it, you got to give the man credit. I mean, like Floyd Mayweather, you may love or hate the guy, but at the end of the day, he's making multiple $1 million deals, and that's not because he talks. It's because he fights some of the best guys in the world. He sells a shit ton of tickets, whether they want to hate him, win, lose, whatever. He does the business.
People say that they buy his pay-per-views to see him lose.
That's the business. There's so many people that have done this. This is the business, you know what I mean? And then there's people that like Manny Pacquiao, that's more quiet, laid back, and more respectful. Just two different styles, but they both back up what they say. It's same as Conor McGregor. He backs up what he says, and at the end of the day, he's getting paid. He's doing something he loves to do, and he's providing a life for him and his family. He's building a legacy. So I can't really talk bad of that. You know, who am I to say that's what he's doing is wrong? Is it my style? No, I don't really talk that way, but I represent myself. He represents himself, and he's individual. So hats off to him, you know.
Okay, Aldo, McGregor for the belt. Who takes it?
I actually think Aldo's going to win the fight. I think it's going to be a tough fight. I don't think it's going to be as clean cut as everyone imagines. There's a lot of people out there that would think that, you know, he's just going to walk through him and Aldo's going to kill him.
Who's going to walk through him?
Aldo's going to just walk through McGregor. I don't believe that at all. I think it's going to be a very tough fight, and it could go either way. Just my opinion, I think Aldo's a little bit more experienced and a little bit more poised, but Conor McGregor's doing the right thing. He's pushing the kid's buttons. You've got a young kid who's calm, very experienced and laid back, but he's getting pissed. He's getting upset. Everywhere Conor McGregor's face to face with him, he's upsetting him every time. Now, he may lose that confidence and composure in the cage and just let it loose, and then he plays in the Conor's game. So it all depends on really the mind game right now. I think physically, I think Conor loses that fight. But if he beats him in the mental game, which who knows if he is. If he is, I think Conor could beat him. So it's really who shows up on the night.
Yeah, it is an interesting fight. Okay, my last question. I'm gonna let you go right now. Well, not right now. Just answer this last question. There's the most anticipated welterweight fight coming up at ONE FC. Luis Sapo Santos versus Ben Askren. Title defense by Ben Askren. Your thoughts on that fight? Who takes it?
Ben Askren is a stud. There's no doubt about it, and he's another guy that's borderline of confidence and arrogance. But he's a fighter. That's what he needs. But he backs up what he does. I mean, everyone knows he's a wrestler. Everyone knows they're going to take him down, but he still takes you down. It's like the Charles Sonnen syndrome. Yeah. He says he's going to take you down, and then he takes you down.